Welcome to First Minister's Question Review. We're already on the 5th of December, getting scarily close to the annual bean feast that is Christmas and New Year. I hope you've all done your Christmas shopping and sent your Christmas cards already.
Not yet.
Not shopping, no cards.
Okay.
It's too early yet.
Anyway, welcome everybody. Today's First Minister's Questions clashed with the Chancellor of the Exchequer's autumn statement, which is now actually more important than what they call the budget, because it actually outlines what they're actually going to plan to do. And the BBC Two Scotland did not broadcast First Minister Questions. They didn't even put it on the red button, so we had to watch it online. I'm not quite sure what that says about the BBC's priorities.
No.
Well, it's still.
I know exactly what it says about the BBC's priorities.
We
are not one of them.
There's a Parliament channel, which if you wanted to watch, you could. Anyway, so welcome, Phil. Did you enjoy your trip to London last week?
Yeah, very good. Very, very good.
Good.
Exhibitions and visiting the comrades. Topplers are all dead.
I can see. And Norrie Stewart and myself, Stuart Lockhead. Today's First Minister Question started, as it often does, with a statement from the First Minister. This time it was about the severe weather. But that aside, Joanne Lamont focused on the childcare plans policy of as outlined in the White Paper for an independent Scotland, and she was determined to get costs, number of jobs, average salary, and so they had a bit of a 1-2 about that. And I'm not saying, can't be certain as what I understood from hearing it all. Figures were bandied about. I'm not sure whose figures I really believe.
Well, Joanne based her argument on the fact that she thought the whole 700 million that would be raised by the people going back, women going back to work because they could get childcare free, wasn't going to be generated by the income tax from those women
Going back to work. Unless they were earning over £40,000 a year.
But it's totally simplistic. I mean,
it's economic activity.
Well, she's not including VAT for a start.
No.
She's not including the upspend, the more money generated for businesses because there's more money in the economy. I mean, it was pretty simplistic. It would be effective. I mean, people would go, oh, right, there's not enough people to pay the tax. Because most people don't understand that a job isn't just about the tax you pay. You're putting much more into the economy because you can go and buy more shopping. Yeah. And with that at 20%, that goes into the Exchequer as well. And I'm sorry, but it made her out to be foolish as far as I'm concerned.
There's also the money as well, because if you have people, they're going in, because some of them are probably on benefits, so it's the money saved to the Exchequer. On benefits paying out in an independent Scotland. It was rather simplistic, and I don't believe it was stupidity. I believe it was obviously different, deliberate to do it that way. Everything's all about economic activity, spending your money, disposal of income. It all comes back in taxes and creates other jobs, creates taxes, and grows the economy.
I mean, the question, what did she ask? She asked, how much would these jobs have to pay? She'd obviously. Somebody had sat down and worked out for 42,000 to generate the amount of income tax that it would pay for the scheme.
Because to pay for the child support scheme.
And the only question Salmon had the answer to at his fingertips was that it would be 30,000 jobs in the childcare industry. Which, not like Salmon not to be prepared. He should have been able, I think, to have a list of expected expenditure, and Woolies Woolies isn't there anymore. Asda will be, so 20% of that will come to the Exchequer. Employers' contributions, he should have had some sort of.
It was a bit sloppier today, but as well, I think he was based it on the simple fact that it works in Sweden, Scandinavia, and I think he also needs to emphasise that type of thing wouldn't be automatic. It'd take a while because we're not Scandinavia. We're completely different to Scandinavia, even though we're up in the north, but we think, oh yes, we'll just be like the Swedes. Well, sorry, we won't.
What she set out to do was to demonstrate that the proposed child support policy, as outlined in the white paper, is an indie referendum bribe.
Oh, yeah.
Which it is. Well, but it's also got the consequences of it, if they can make it, if they can actually get it into policy. I mean, well, basically, if they stand up in Parliament, what party is going to turn around and say, no, we think it's a bad idea? I mean, which kind of neatly brings me to Ruth Davidson defending public sector workers.
Yeah.
But the hell's that about?
Well, I thought she was. She picked a good topic, apparently, because.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently, I'm not sure what year the first figure she said, but nurses in a survey for the Royal College of Nursing had previously said 1 in 5 of them had been bullied in the previous year, and now that's gone up to 33%. I'm not sure. Salmon didn't
It's over
refute
7
the figure.
years. 2006 was the first figure.
2006 was the so.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people getting bullied.
But
Yeah,
But then again, what levels of bullying? What levels of what are you talking about? I mean, in
well, I mean, the situation,
Very simplistic.
my wife's a nurse, and I get really annoyed with her because she goes on courses that she pays for out of her own pocket and then gets the money back, and she never quite gets the amount of money back that she spends on the course. You know, she doesn't get petrol money to drive down to Manchester or whatever. You know, she'll get her digs and an allowance for food and, you know, da-da-da. But
And
it's
no
3
transport
months
costs.
later and,
yeah.
you know, and it's not as if they each take their own car, they share cars, you know, they cut the money down. It's a rare day where she isn't doing an extra half hour that she doesn't get paid for, but she's old school, you know, it's what the job needs of me, and that's why I do it.
tell you what was interesting, I think, also was that I think Ruth Davidson did wrong foot Salmon there, because his main response was that he will arrange a party leaders meeting to discuss it, which I thought was quite a result for her.
Well, I don't understand why. I mean, it's all very well collecting statistics about bullying, but I'm sorry, they've got a union.
Yeah.
The union should deal with it. That's what would happen in your workplace, my workplace. You know, I mean, in my fire brigade days, if some officer had gone off the deep end and bullied me, I would ask them outside behind the tower, and if he wouldn't go, I'd have got the union involved.
How many of them are in a union? I
Well,
mean,
they're all members of
The Royal College of
the
Nursing.
Royal College. You
Yeah,
can't be
but-
a nurse without being a member.
Yeah, I know, but is that a union or is that an association?
Well, it is, yeah.
Where you're meant to just carry on with it and be serious.
No, they're
it's like
quite
unison or
bullshit.
something.
They're quite bullshit these days. They're not like they used to be.
Well, look, Salmon's
Which is
main
an arm of the management.
argument today was all about getting through the question of a £4 billion cut in the Scottish grant under if the Barnett formula is cut.
There's no if. There's no if about it.
As he predicts after a no vote from the Indie thing. Now, Salmon really wanted to drive. I think it was covered at least three times, if not 4 times, over the course of.
I mean, I don't think he was particularly good today. He made a mistake. He didn't bring in the power that the First Minister in Wales has got to veto a shared currency and implement a cut in the Barnett formula.
No, he
Because
wants-
That's
he-
who started that ball rolling.
He wants. It hasn't got the power, but he wants.
No, but that, I mean, it was
Oh, yeah.
it was a missed chance for Salmond.
But if you have a look at that whole bit, like you said, if, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, you've got the chairman of the Scottish committee down there talking about bayoneting the wounded, and then sticking the knife into his own constituents that work in the shipbuilding industry. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. In the event of a no vote, there's going to be a drastic cut up here, and there's also going to be they're going to start stripping the Parliament of powers under the pretext of expanding and devolving more power by giving it to councils and taking it away. It'll just end up a large regional council.
I think it's worth pointing out Malcolm Chisholm's fairly robust contribution. and who's raising the expression, well, we've all heard about Project Fear being the Better Together's own name for their campaign to keep us in the Union. Here, Malcolm Chisholm came up with the phrase Project Scare, which he suggests was the SNP government is trying to scare the electorate into voting yes by promising the threats of cuts from Westminster.
But, well, okay, right. It hasn't been decided to cut the Barnett formula. In fact, Osborne today said that it won't be touched for 2 years, which for me means whoever gets in after the 2015 election, which is looking more and more likely to be the Tories, it will go.
In other words, but he did say it won't be touched for 2 years. In other words,
Yeah.
another way of saying that is in 2 years we will be touching it, probably fatally. But I think what Malcolm was kind of alluding to was, because with the white paper, yeah, there's a lot, but a white paper, you know, a government paper on, but it was quite also an election manifesto. And there was quite a few generalisations in it. I mean, well, nobody was going to get all the questions asked, because you can't answer most of the questions really till after.
The two
It was a
questions,
bit of a wish
I mean,
list.
to me, they're really transparent on the Better Together campaign. The two questions they hammer are the currency and Europe, which are two questions that the Scottish Government can't get answers to no matter how much they want, because it involves interaction with the British Government. And the British Government are not going to answer the question, so they can keep saying, well, what are the answers to these questions?
But the answers we get from the SNP,
And
I think, are spot on. The whole one
but
is
the
this
majority
scary
of the
things.
public believe that Salmon should be able to answer the question, and he's not answering the question because he doesn't like the answer. Whereas in fact, it's the exact reverse.
Yeah, and it's the way they spin it. It's like Rajoy, the Spanish Prime Minister. Well, he says you're not getting in, which he's never said anything else, because he's actually addressing the Catalans. He's talking about two different kinds of referendums. And anyway, at the end of the day, I just... if they're letting Romania and Bulgaria, I mean, the whole question is really rather facetious. I mean, there's absolutely no way Scotland wouldn't be in the European Union, because we already are. And then when it comes to the monetary union, well, fine then. If the rest of the UK doesn't want Scotland and its assets and all the rest of it, then...
The point you made about Malcolm, about the scare thing, I mean,
Project Scare.
I do think there's been quite a lot on social media about having a rebuttal unit within the Yes campaign, so that every time something comes up, there's an immediate rebuttal.
There was a very good
It's
article by
not-
Ian McWhirter about that, and how the Labour Party, when he was still working as a Westminster reporter in London, how the Labour Party set up a rebuttal
Oh yeah, very good.
committee, which was very effective in
But,
getting
yeah.
Tony Blair elected in '97,
But it was very effective because they had a platform to put it out on.
because the media would take their
And I mean,
rebuttals.
I mean, even although I have to say, there's two articles in the Guardian today, which are basically saying, one saying from some think tank over 5 universities, that's basically saying, well, actually, this demographic problem you've got with age is nothing like as bad as the IFS said. It's about 1.4 would be the difference. So it's totally, I mean, it's well within Scotland's capability of dealing with, and I can't remember what the other one was. But they were both basically from unimpeachable sources backing what the Scottish Government said. Now that's in the Guardian, which has not been terribly
No.
helpful with the Yes campaign. And Curtis today on his blog pointing out that month on month the No campaign has lost 1%. They've gone from 47 to 42, I think, over the last 5 months. The the undecideds have gone up 4, but the Yes campaign's gone up 1. So the trend is away from No.
Yeah, because well, as they say, the don't
Two
know, the
undecided.
don't knows are actually leaning. Well, they say they don't know, but they do tend to be leaning towards yes. And it's like a lot of polls anyway. It all depends what you ask them.
Well, it's interesting that poll in the Mail doesn't publish its data. It just publishes the result.
Yeah, of course. I
That
mean,
was a 26% poll.
and when they talk about, Scotland, I'm sorry, Alistair Darling has already said himself, in between scaremongering about, I've never said that Scotland could be a viable nation, and then two names. All you have to say is Calman and Healy.
Do you know something? It's interesting that Salmon didn't take the opportunity to stick the knife in, because I mean the Tory party, apparently Tory party insiders have been slagging off Alistair Darling as being completely lightweight.
Front page of the FT.
It's not just
So
that.
I mean, the FT does not publish without proof, put it that way. I mean, if you can trust one paper in this bloody country.
Did you see how much he earned this last year? £170,000 for speaking engagements.
Sweet as compared to the others.
Is it?
Frank, to the average person, obviously.
Do we really want to get rid of Alistair Darling? No, we don't.
But that's what the last project's about. That's a lot of my difficulty. I mean, I'm still a Labour Party member, but I look at Alistair Darling, I see a member of a war cabinet that did an illegal war. I look at a lot of the other ones, these elder statesmen, Jack Straw and all that, and I'm thinking, they don't look really nice in the dock at the Hague. John Reid, Dr. Death, Dr. John the Night Tripper,
Somebody dug up an article by Straw where he basically said the English were in charge of everything. It won't play well.
But then you said just John Reid. Sorry, what board is he on? G4S? It says it all. They were all in there. I mean, all they've done is they've all stuffed their pockets. I'm sorry, that's not what you really expect from Labour. If they do it subtly, writing books and that, like...
the other one that
Wilson's
wasn't mentioned was
government.
Mr. Lunn,
Oh,
who's defected from...
Edinburgh councillor, Labour councillor.
That's just a Labour councillor. That's no big deal.
What was that? Did you see that thing about the Green that's come out for no?
Come out for no.
Yeah, during the week, some Green, what's his name? Richard something.
Where? Is he a councillor?
No, is he an ex-MSP?
No.
He might well be a councillor actually. I can't remember the details, but he seems a bit eccentric. He looks like a Doctor Who wannabe.
But
With a hat, a big multicoloured scarf.
But the figures now at the council are still 2018. It was 2018 when it started. Then they had Buchanan's death, and then Labour won that seat, changing it, and now it's just gone back to the way it was. So it makes a real difference.
Or to the balance on the council.
Was quite a shock, very, very much a shock to some people. I mean, a real shock, But then I suppose to see which way the wind will go. But he says basically he's still. It's all about because he wants to go for he wants independence. Sorry, he could have joined Alan Grogan's mob, within Labour to do.
Yeah, what's this on social media this week about suggestion that Labour for Independence has got more supporters on Facebook than the Labour Party?
Yeah, it's got 3,000 supporters on Facebook, and the Labour Party Facebook page got 800 odd. No, well, if you think about it, I mean, I've liked Labour for Indy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a true indication of what their membership is.
No, because within the Labour Party, I mean, I was there last night, and there's a bit of jovial banter between some people that are going for independence and all the rest of it. I mean, I don't go out on the Yes campaign, and I don't go out on a No campaign. Personally, well, what?
I want to word with you about that,
but no, I don't go out for either. I'll wait till to the ballot. I've more or less made my mind up anyway.
I don't know. I mean, this indicates how boring we thought question time was today. By the way.
Yeah, well, it's very, very
drifted
boring.
away.
Aye.
But that's true. It was very boring. I was going to mention the possibility of going uptown and seeing a tram moving along Princess Street today.
Very, very slowly. Very, very
Walk
slowly.
along beside it.
Walking speed, but a tram.
I fully
moving
expect
up.
to see a news flash that one tram's collapsed into the
But just going back, you said about Labour.
outside Marks and Spencer.
Labour for Indy. I mean, we're very civilised in the Leith area, but you'll get parts of Scotland where you are. You might be a Labour Party member. You can see. Because you've got quite a lot of Labour members actually in there. Now they've left the Labour Party, the likes of Canavan is. You would probably be subjected to intimidation and harassment in some parts of Scotland, and I'm not particularly through in the West and all the rest of it, you know, in the heartlands. People call it for expulsion, that type of thing.
Okay. Well, Sarah Boyack turned up as almost, was it the second last question?
Yeah, that was kind of...
She's widely regarded as a fairly capable
I thought she was
MSP.
spot on, actually, because
But she very rarely has a question. And unfortunately, her mic wasn't on when she started talking, so it was something to do with the Joseph Rowntree report about...
poverty.
yeah, basically poverty. If you look at a lot of the poverty campaigns and things like that, and projects, they're led by local authorities, they're led by councils. And so, whatever Alex Salmon says, and again, it's this thing with figures. Oh, and he's looking at figures, it's 34, and now it's 36, and it's rise. Well, sorry, the 34% are nothing, and 36% are nothing is still nothing. You know, the local authorities have been hammered with money. I mean, the rates, well, council tax hasn't gone up. 70 million pounds spread amongst Scottish authorities, local authorities, is peanuts.
Yeah, but I mean...
And that's all it ever
his argument was what it always is. We're doing better up here than we are down there. We're less badly off.
Yeah, but we're not down there. We're up here, and we're in the local authorities, and local authorities are getting shafted.
And... yeah. But that's policy priority.
Let's go and score
So the
this.
easiest thing for him would have been to agree with her, yes, sorry, which he didn't. And it was basically, we're better off. Sorry, we're not better off. Yes, we are badly off.
Well, the argument...
36% nothing is the same as 34%
Basically,
nothing.
she was saying that there's been a bill of £1 billion loss of funding to local
Yeah.
government, and Alex Salmon says no, there hasn't. She was right.
Well, no, there has. There's been a huge loss.
Yeah, that's it.
But at the end of the day, a lot of that can't be laid at the Scottish Government's door.
Yeah, I know, but
Well,
I'm sitting. Look, they both have their
In
own
fact,
agenda.
the pocket
you know.
money cut. So
Yeah.
I get my pocket money cut from my wife, and my grandson gets his pocket money cut because I've not got as much money to give him.
But you know, you sit there and you look at the two, and that's why, you know, I mean, sometimes it's a plague on both their houses, because they've both got their own agenda, and you're looking at it, and they're both playing with figures. Figures don't lie, lies. You know,
Statistics.
lies, damn lies, and statistics. There's all that. So you're sitting there, and now, I mean, we're sitting there, no wonder there's such a great lump of don't knows in the middle, because, you know, yeah, it's yes, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, and it just...
Well, that's why the argument about the Barnett formula is so important.
Yeah. I mean, that we do know. There's
Basically,
4 billion is...
That is simple
you
and
could say
straightforward.
that £4 billion
Nothing
projected cut after a no vote is they're going to hammer that and hammer it. And that is Project Fear, according to Malcolm Chisholm.
Yeah. But,
Sorry, Project Scare.
Project Scare, it's real Project Reality, because actually, when you look at the 4 billion, depending on how you look at that 4 billion, that's 4 billion coming out of the economy. So when you take 4 billion out of the economy, then the economy suffers, and other things suffer. So other areas where there's no money producing, so it could end up at 7 billion or even 9 billion.
We won't see the details, but I've started to notice something with what Westminster does. In China, there wasn't a single Scottish business invited on the trip. Not one. They were all English-based businesses. No Northern Ireland businesses. I think there was one Welsh business. It was about England.
Yeah, and it's our biggest growing market for whiskey.
Well, but my point is that they're not even trying to cover their tracks on that one. Sorry, what were we talking about before that?
Just the 4 billion.
No, something else. I can't remember. It was about the promise to keep the Barnett for 2 years. And as we've already said, that's a promise to get rid of it after 2 years.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things, no St Andrew's Day bashes in any of the British embassies across the world.
You want to know?
None, apparently, not one. Now, I can remember when we were abroad, there was always a St Andrew's bash, there was always a St David's Day bash, there was always a St Patrick's Day bash in the embassies for, you know, just locals, you know, let alone supporting business. And I'm beginning to think the Tories have kind of maybe thought, we're losing this, bugger it, let's look after our own constituency. And that can only play into a yes vote.
Okay, well let's try scoring.
Yeah.
Phil, you can score them today.
Start off with Salmon, lackluster. He was, and it was ho ho ho. You know, yes, yes. Sorry, you know, it's not. We're not in the middle of it. He's First Minister's question times. He's not in the middle of an election campaign or a referendum campaign. So sorry, I'll give Alex. I don't have to go down that well. I'll give him 6.5.
Bugger.
Right, what about
Joanne,
your leader?
I'll give her she was dogged and she was, but one was as bad as the other. So yeah, I'll give. But he was still he has the advantage of that. But I'll give Joanne 6.
Ruth?
Yeah, I liked her question, but she was a bit disingenuous in the way she was doing it. But then, well, actually,
Just say what you mean. She's a Tory.
yeah, but she did it good. She did it well, and she even managed to sort of contrive a bit of care in her voice. So I'll give her 5.
Willie Rennie?
Didn't he speak?
Yeah, well, maybe you should get 5 if he didn't. He wasn't there.
For not being
An
there.
average score.
And I'll give. Actually, she did quite well. And today, I think I'll give the presiding officer the highest score, and I'll give her 8.
It's quite some boy, isn't it? Alec, I have to agree, I don't think he was at his best, and I'm going to give him a fairly low score. I'm going to give him a 7. I think he's done an awful lot better. Joanne Lamont, she got her point across. She made her point that that the child support element policy in the white paper really is an election bribe.
Right.
And that was the point, the only point she really wanted to make, and she made it. So I'll give her quite a high score. I'll give her a 5. Ruth, I thought I thought it was an excellent question, which wasn't answered, and all that Salmon could do was deploy his usual artillery, firing over the border, and so I feel like giving Ruth, give her 5. Presiding officer 5, Willie Rennie 5. The rest of them, it was a dull day.
Yeah, and I don't think Alex performed well today at all. So he's getting a 5 from me. I don't think his researchers put the information in front of him that they should have. There was going to be a question about the childcare thing. They've got to knock it down because I think it's played well in the country. Joanne, I'm going to give Joanne a 6 because she was dogged. She stuck to the script for once when she should have because Salmon couldn't answer the specifics.
Watch your ankles, Alex.
So she did. Again, she got a bit stairhead rammy about her when she started. If that's her acting genuinely annoyed, I wouldn't like to see her seriously annoyed. I think she'd be chucking things at you. Ruth, well, I normally say she doesn't have a leg to stand on, but she found a question today that worked. What a Tory is doing defending public sector employees against bullying, I don't know. I have no idea how she basically squares that.
Oh, quite.
Because I'm sorry, the whole Tory agenda
Very easy. She was probably bullied.
Is to make the working people of this country as poor as possible so they can enslave them. If they could get away with slavery, they would do. So she did well there, but ideologically she had to leave the room.
No, but she's obviously been bullied, so she knows what it feels like.
Give her I thought the presiding officer did well, actually. Yeah. She shut them up, they paid attention. Yeah. So I'm going to give her an 8 as well.
Presiding officer wins today, I think.
Could do. 13.5. Bloody halves. 12, 17, 16, 16, 23.
Wasn't half bad.
Well, Alex has scraped through. And I don't think he deserved to, but he scraped through on 18.5. Joanne, 17, which is good for her. Very good for her, in fact. Ruth, 16, which is amazing. I should really give her another 2 points every time you give her points. because you'd never score her, honestly, because she's a Tory. But the presiding officer wins with 23.
I think that might be, could say it was a bit of a pit up there. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for today's review. Let's hope for more excitement next week. And
Yeah.
thank you, Phil, and thank you, Laurie, and goodbye.